So thank you guys so much for being here. This is Ex-Morgan with My Spiritual Life. And today I've got Lexi, Exmo Lex. Lexi, why don't you introduce yourself for everyone in case those who don't know you, which probably most people do, but tell us about yourself.
Awesome. Okay, I'll do it just like a Mormon testimony meeting. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lexi. I'm not the Relief Society teacher anymore, but I do make YouTube videos about being an ex-Mormon.
Oh my gosh. Great. There's a link to Lexi's channel in the description. You got to check out her channel. I feel like our channels are really similar in a lot of ways. So I think if you like my channel, you're really going to like her channel too. Lexi, thank you so much for being here. I have been dying to do a video with you.
I know. We've needed to for a while.
Yes. And I am just so excited to have you here. So thank you so much for being here. So we are going to go ahead and get started with an opening prayer. So I am going to turn the time over to Sister Jensen. Please, everyone in the comment section, be very reverent.
Thank you, Sister Ex-Morgan. For those of you that don't know me, I'm better than you. So I'd like to say a special prayer right now to some people who are especially, horrible. Our dearest, kindest, most lovingest, most gracious, most... I don't know any more adjectives. Father in heaven, we would like, at this moment, like to pray. We'd like to pray for...
Most whitest.
Oh, thank you. Most whitest... Father in heaven.
Oh.
Pray at this moment for Abby, Deanna, Emily B, and Howard, because those four seem like a similar type of sinner. I'm sure they've seen PG-13 rated movies in the last month. Please bless them that they can stop doing that. I'd also like to pray at this time for Jenny, Lisa, Melissa, and Monica. Bless them that at this moment, I know they're not closing their eyes during the prayer. And I know that that is a punishment, or that is a sin punishable by terrestrial kingdom. So bless them that they can ascend from their fallen state. I'd also like at this time to pray for Robert, Sam, Brianna, and Jessica. Lord, these are some special cases. I've been informed that some of them have even kissed passionately outside of marriage. And I would like nothing more than to see them back in church, feeling terrible about themselves. But at this time, we come to the end of the prayer, and I would like very much for you to pay special attention to the notorious Mama Joe. Now, Mama Joe has developed some particularly egregious habits, like the habit of befriending LGBT youth who have been disenfranchised by their families and taking time out of his day to make them feel loved. Like they have a home and like they're worth his time. So please bless Mama Joe that he will find his way out of this horrible path, I guess. Sorry.
Be reverent, God.
Shh, I'm praying. And I say these things humbly, very, very humbly, in the name of thy beloved, wondrous, and gracious Son, even Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Oh, sorry, no clapping. Sorry.
Yes.
This is not a Baptist church.
Thank you, Sister Jensen. If you guys don't know who those people were, they are our Patreon supporters that we love so much that we pray for your soul because we know you're going to hell for supporting us. But we are so grateful. So worth it.
I'll be reading my scriptures now.
He said, Sister Jess is going to read scriptures. So we got some girl time, I guess. Okay, so thank you guys
Wait,
for
Sister
joining us.
Jensen's not a girl.
Oh, well. So anyway. Wow, I just embarrassed Sister Jensen and myself in front of all of Ex-Mormon YouTube. So wow. All right, so here we go. Thank you guys for joining us today. Me and Exmo Lex are uniting forces, and we are talking about what it's like having an Ex-Mormon YouTube channel, and we are so excited to talk to you guys about this. It's going to give us an opportunity to be a little more personal and vulnerable and tell you guys some of the details that we don't get to talk about in our normal kind of videos that we do every week. So we're super excited about it. Please forgive us for the times that we get distracted by your really funny and awesome comments in the chat. We are not used to recording videos while people are talking. And forgive us for any internet problems that are just bound to happen because, you know, God is real and that's how he shows us. So anyway, we're going to start by talking a little bit about why me and Lexi started our YouTube channels. And then we're going to talk about how it impacted our families and communities that were Mormon. And then we're going to talk about how it's affected our post-Mormon life. After that, we're going to open it up to questions from you guys. So if you can, hold your questions until then. And we also have a bunch of questions that were submitted to us through Instagram, and we'll be looking at some of those as well. So this is going to be so fun. So I will... and anything else? Oh, and we got super chat, I think. Hopefully we got super chat. And the donations from super chat will be split between me and Lexi's channel. So if you want to send us some love in terms of money, we will appreciate it. And I'm sure that Satan will be proud of you. Okay. All right. Lexi, do you want to start and tell us just a little bit about why you started your channel?
Sure. Okay, I'll just kind of go over the basics of it. When I first left the church, one of the things that was super, super helpful to me was being able to see other people's YouTube videos. There were a lot of like ex-Mormon and even like people who were still Christian but had left the Mormon church that when I first left and started seeing those videos, they were really comforting to me. To feel like, you know, I could see some of the same people in the comments of the videos and start connecting and building a kind of community that I had lost when I left the church. And I didn't really consider making my own YouTube channel until several months after I had left the church. And a family member, my dad actually was getting on my case about commenting on a Zelf on the Shelf video on Facebook. He had seen the comment and was just like sad, even though it was like, I was just like relating to them, being like, oh, I understand what you went through. Like I went through the same thing. And so I ended up calling him and we got in like this big phone argument about like, you know, he didn't understand, like, why would you need a community after you leave? And like all this stuff, like he just didn't get it, you know, which like is understandable.
Right,
I wouldn't have gotten it either as a member, but I was really unhappy because I had thought that we were a little bit closer and on the same page. And he ended up telling me, you left the church, great, but just keep your mouth shut about it. And I was so upset by what he said that I ended up like crying for the rest of the day and thinking to myself, like, no, like, I'm not gonna do that. And I saw YouTube video off the top of my head, and I didn't really think I would make more after that, but a lot of people watched it and it did pretty well. And a lot of people in the comments were telling me like that, you know, they supported me and that the video helped them. And when I started seeing those comments, I was so like, I don't know, it made me emotional and it made me feel like, wow, like maybe because other people's YouTube videos meant so much to me and still do, maybe I could be, you know, a part of that and help some other people. And so I started continuing to make videos and it just kind of took off from there.
That is so cool. And I saw, I was looking at your channel. It looks like we just came up on the 1-year reunion from when you posted your first video. It was May of last year, right? Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
It was
such a
kind of
big
crazy. I
deal.
didn't even notice until like after. So I was like, oh, like it's been a year. Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy. And that first video especially went kind of like mini viral. It got how much, I don't know, 30 or 40, 50,000 views, something
It's
like
like
that.
40,000 right now, I think. Definitely
Yeah.
my most viewed video. But like again, like I didn't think that people would watch it, like because I didn't have a channel, you know. It's like I didn't think that there'd be people like coming to watch it, but there were so many people that I had met in the ex-Mormon community that I kind of like just shared the video on my Facebook page, and they were all so supportive and so kind. And I mean, I was blown away by how many people was like, that was great. I was like, really? Because I didn't think it was.
Oh, that's
But
so
you know,
funny.
this is one of
Yes.
those things.
Yes, I completely understand. I'm just gonna say thank you so much to, we got a couple donations, and the super chat is there for anyone who donates. Half of it is gonna go to Lexi's channel, half is gonna go to mine. Thank you so much. We seriously couldn't do this without you guys. So thank you to Just Another Exmo. I know you come on my channel all the time. Thank you. Thank you to Puck. Thank you to Dawn. Thank you guys so much for your donations. I think we might have lost Lexi. Lexi, can you hear me still?
I can hear you.
Okay, your
Can
screen's
you hear me?
frozen, but I can hear you, so that's fine. You're making a nice smiley face on
Oh
my
yeah, that's a really cute face. So cute. Awesome.
Hopefully it'll catch
Maybe
up
that'll
with
stop soon. Look at that. Yeah.
yeah, hopefully it'll catch up. If not, you could try turning your camera off and back on, like without exiting Zoom. And just so
Yeah,
for
maybe I'll
people
try
who have just joined recently, thank you so much for being here. Me and Lexi are doing this video together, and it's super exciting for us. Just so you guys know, there is like a 15-second delay from what we're doing and what we're and the chat, the live chat itself. So if you're noticing that on our end, that's probably why. So just to answer that question a little bit for me. Oh, and by the way, we are going to open this up to questions from you guys. If you're just joining, we're going to get to that in a little bit. We're just kind of covering some backstory. And Lexi, you're back. You're not smiling at your happy Mormon smile anymore.
Oh my God.
So so just giving a little bit of backstory for me. When I started to doubt, I was really in a dark place and I didn't know what to do. But I kept looking up different ex-Mormon channels and different forums and stuff like that. And I just felt like there was a lot of people that weren't necessarily representing the church correctly. And it was, and not to like pinpoint any channels or anything, it's not even any channels that I follow anymore, but it was like some vloggers, and I was like, I just feel like that's not what I'm experiencing. That's not how I feel. That's not how I've viewed this. And I was just like, there's got to be other people that think or feel the way that I do and not necessarily this other way that I'm seeing. So I remember that my life coach was talking to me, and she was helping me through my faith crisis, and she was saying, Morgan, I think you need to like voice this stuff because you're really isolating yourself right now, and you need to kind of like get this out there and get your story out there. And at that point I had already been thinking like of doing something like that, but it just felt way too scary. So basically I had been thinking if I wanted to do something, I would want to do YouTube, because I liked the idea of a video platform versus like just podcasting or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like writing, but not as much. So I didn't want to do a blog. So anyway, she was like, Morgan, you should think about doing a blog or something. And I was like, maybe I should try a vlog. And so I recorded my first video November of 2018. And I was like shaking the whole time. I was terrified. I cut out so much footage because I was just like, Jared, I'm so scared. I can't do this. It was just terrifying, like thinking who's gonna see this, and I was still not sure about my opinions, and like, so I started kind of putting these videos out there just kind of casually and just kind of for myself, like, and it was good. And then it was April of last year of 2019 that one of my videos kind of went mini viral, and it was right after General Conference, and I watched Nelson basically say stuff that was super offensive to me, and I felt like was very offensive to like the ex-Mormon community, because he was like kind of doing this, in my opinion, it was like a very salesy kind of talk. It was like, you need to come back now. And I posted a video and I was like, this is so upsetting, like, because it felt like he was using this like sales tactic to try to bring people back to God. And I was like, that can't be how God works. And so that video kind of went big. And then it was kind of a similar situation that Lexi described. All of a sudden it was like all these people were like, you put words to my feelings. I've never had that before. Thank you so much. I want to hear more from you. And I was like, okay, why not? And so
yeah, so I'm feeling like, really? Oh my God.
Right, it's weird because you look at these people online and you see they've got all these subscribers and all this, and you're like, wow, like that's a person, but not like, but we're just people. We're not, you know, it's weird.
They seem so cool. Like there's a lot of people I follow that I'm like, wow, you're so beyond like my coolness. It's not even funny. Like even you and like a lot of other people that I follow, I'm just like, I can't. You're so much cooler than I am.
The camera adds like 80% coolness, so it really helps. Okay, so I was stupid and I turned on the heat out of habit, so I'm like burning up and I need to turn it off.
Okay, no worries. Yeah.
Anyway, so Lexi, for the next part of the conversation, do you want to talk just briefly about kind of how your family reacted? Like, did you have to tell them about your channel, or do they not know about it, or how did they find out about it? Right.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't going to tell them about it.
Right.
Let me see. I kind of just like started making the videos. Like I said, it wasn't like a planned thing. I made the first one not planning to make more. I was like, it was just like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
But after I started making them, my brother that is not like a member ended up seeing it. And he's the kind of person that like, he didn't leave the church because he thought it was not true or like anything like that. He was just like, I don't care. Like he doesn't believe it, doesn't care like to think about it at all. And so for him, it was not a big thing. Like he didn't think about it as like, this is life changing in any way or like crazy or weird. Like for him, it's just like, oh, like just making videos about how the church is bad. Like that's weird. And so he actually sent one of my videos to my dad.
Oh.
Not realizing that like that was going to be a huge deal, like for everybody else. But for him, like at first I was really upset at him, but then I started realizing like it's not a thing for him. Like he doesn't think about the church the way I think about the church or the way my family does. So anyway, that's how my parents found out. Was my brother told them, and I got a call from my mom, like almost in tears, being like, do you have an anti-Mormon YouTube? And I was just like, oh God, we're having this conversation, because it had only been like a month or two. Like it was not, I hadn't been doing it long at all. But anyway, like my mom was like really sad, and I had to have this big conversation and kind of pull her back, because I feel like, especially at that point, my videos weren't like anti and like scary. It was more, especially when I very first started, it was like more of an effort to try to get Mormons and ex-Mormons to see eye to eye and kind of understand where the other person was coming from. So I'm like sitting there like, it's not a big deal, like, because I've left the church, this is just me like, trying to be a part of the community. And I calmed her down, and things were like okay for a while. But I mean, I don't know, like even my husband's family, I think they know about it because they've been like on my Instagram. I've had my father-in-law go through and like videos, I think kind of passive aggressively, because I know he doesn't actually like them. But they never, like, they don't bring it up. They don't talk about it. They don't acknowledge it, but they know it's there. So, I mean, it's kind of strange. I have had like some cousins find my Instagram and then through that find my YouTube. And some of them are like not active and be like, wow, I didn't know all this stuff about the church. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
And I'm like, I know, right? We can kind of like agree on that. But then I've also had other cousins find it and be like, I don't get what the point is, it's just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So you know, a little bit of both. My parents are not happy about it, and I know that most of my family is not happy about it. But again, like, I'm going to do what I want, and I am going to talk about it because I do think it's important. So even if they were to say, like, we're not going to talk to you until you stop making the videos, I'd be like, okay, you're not going to see your grandkids then, but whatever, you know.
Right.
This is important to me. The church is important to them. This is important to me.
It makes sense. It totally makes sense. Well, and I just have to commend you because I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to make this stuff because it feels like it's on your heart and you want to reach out to that community and help them, but how hard it is because of the family backlash. And it sucks. It's just hard. Like, it's hard for them, it's hard for us. Like, it's not a fun situation, but ultimately,
Yeah.
like you said, we're doing what we feel is right, and that's all we can do. And I'm glad that, lucky for us, neither of our
Yeah.
families have totally disconnected from us over it. Yeah.
Right. Thank goodness.
Yeah, my family definitely doesn't know how to talk about it, and I don't blame them. But yeah, so to get my version of that, I told my mom because so when I had started making my videos, I didn't post them for a while. I'd like recorded them and I just like hang on to them because I was like, I don't know about this. And so then after a while, I started posting them. And before I did, I basically told my mom, listen, like, I am doing this thing, like, I'm putting these videos out there, and I just want you to know. And like, I mean, it was hard. It was really hard for both of us. And like, but I was glad that it came from me because I didn't want her to find out
Right.
like through someone else. Cause that would have, yeah, yikes. So, it's
That's a
hard
long
enough.
conversation.
Yeah, so I feel
No matter what
for you.
happens, it's kind of like,
Yep. The other thing that's crazy about this is I never expected my channel to get as big as it has. Like, I just never thought that would ever happen. And so when I started, when things started to get bigger, I realized that there was more and more people finding my channel that actually knew me in real life. Like people from my ward growing up or whatever. And when they started finding it, I was like, oh, this is making me realize that like anyone could find this. And at that point, like,
yeah.
I still hadn't like come out as ex-Mormon to like my more extended family. And so before I had the chance to, someone ended up sending one of my videos to a family member, and then the family member sent it out to everyone else.
Oh,
And then it was like, oh, now everyone knows all at once. And it was like the most terrible
Yay.
day. I know. It was like so sickening for me because I was like, they're getting to see this through a lens I don't really want them to. Like, they're learning about this through a lens that I would prefer them not to learn about it. Like, I'd rather be able to tell them, hey, I'm not going to church anymore. This isn't how I believe anymore. But instead, they had to find my, as you call it, anti-Mormon YouTube
anti-Mormon. Yeah.
right. So that was really hard. It was really cool though, because I got a lot of support from my followers and stuff when that went down. And no, and I mean, you know, it went the way that it went. It was just hard. It was hard for everyone involved because they sincerely believe that what you're doing is the worst thing you could possibly be doing. Like, leaving the church is already the worst thing. They can't really think of what's worse than that. They just can't fathom what's worse than that until they find out that you're like perpetuating negativity,
Right.
you know? And
So
then
we're
it's
like, oh no, our child is a daughter of perdition.
right. So that was rough.
No, what?
Right. But ultimately,
You have ruined an eternal family. Good job.
I know. Good job. Pat on the back. Oh, it's so hard. It's hard. Oh, it really is just hard feeling like you're responsible for upsetting so many people, right? But it's like,
right.
It's just totally non-intentional. And it's the same for them. Like, it's the same when they are saying things or whatever that hurts us. Like, they're not trying to be a jerk. Like, they just like, they're just
yeah,
scared,
they don't get it.
You know?
They don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, like, it was a terrible experience, like them all finding it, mostly because, I just felt sad. I felt like I let everyone down, even though this is what I felt called to do. But ultimately, I don't regret anything. Like, everything happened the way that it did. And the bright side was that once they knew about it, I didn't feel like I had to hide anymore. So
Yeah.
that
You're
was
not hiding a
really,
part of yourself. Like it is a big part of your life once you're out and doing something like this. It's nice to not have to be like, oh, like, yes, it's just me, the like good Mormon girl.
right. Yeah, just ignore my shoulders.
I know they're distracting.
Oh God, this is too good. Okay, so yeah, I guess to close the loop on that, I'll just say, like, it's over time it's just gotten a lot better. Like, initially it was a very big shock to my family, and everyone involved, and they didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to handle it. It was, we were all hurting, we were all not enjoying that process, and over time it got a lot better. So Lexi, do you want to tell us just a little bit about how having this Ex-Mormon YouTube channel has affected your post-Mormon journey or life, or however you want to say that?
Uh, I guess, and like in short, it's changed my life in the best way possible, to where I really, for a while there, felt so alone because, a lot of my family viewed me so differently after I left, even though, I was the same person. But, my ward members stopped talking to me and stopped inviting me to things. My babysitters stopped babysitting for me. I
Oh,
felt like I really had lost, a whole community, a whole ass community, which I had, and so after, I started making the videos and started getting subscribers, the people that, I had seen on different parts of the internet, on Facebook or whatever, started to be like, oh, now we're subscribers. And getting to know those people and read their comments, and especially the people, that I didn't know, that would send me an email, going over their whole story about like the way they were raised in the church, or how they'd been a convert, and then saying like, I'm so glad I found your videos because it inspired me to look deeper into the church, and now I've left and my life is so much better. That part of it for me, like every time I get an email like that or a comment like that, I'm just like bawling because I'm like, wow, like it actually is working and making a difference to somebody. So no matter what my family thinks or what these other people think about me, like the reality is that for a lot of people, I'm doing something good. I'm making a difference in their life. And that, that means more to me than I could even express.
that's so beautiful. I love that. I totally resonate with that too. It's been such a touching experience to hear story after story after story of people, even not ex-Mormon. Like, I've had people reach out to me, ex-Jehovah's Witness, or
Yeah.
ex-cult with no name, or whatever. Like, I've had so many people reach out to me from so many different backgrounds, and it's made me realize how small, like, I am in this big scheme of things, like how naive I've been my whole life, like
Yeah.
how big this community of people is and how much they're really hurting. And it's been so touching. And so it's just crazy. It's been such a wild ride. Like, it's still just the weirdest thing to me. Like, I'll sit down at night responding to all these comments from people, that I don't know, but that have been supporting me from the very beginning. And it's hard to wrap your mind around, like, how real it all is, especially when you're, sitting in your office or in your car and talking to a camera, right? And it just doesn't feel
Yeah.
very real. And then you get those messages and it just like melts your heart, and it just feels so good to be a part of something like this. And then it's so cool because it's not just us, it's the people that are commenting and donating to the channel and like supporting each other, sharing our videos, all of this, like, together we're all making a difference, and it just
Yeah.
feels amazing.
And sharing their comments like in the videos, they'll put their comments and other people can see that. And it's just like this whole amazing community, and to see other people support each other and be like, oh, I totally understand, I've been there, and just for other people to know they're not alone, that's amazing.
Yes, and I think that's the most amazing part probably of both of our channels is giving people that avenue where it's like their feelings and their thoughts are like totally valid, like, and they're not the only one thinking that way, because you start to feel crazy when you're like the only one that you feel like is thinking a certain way. You're like, am I insane? Like, what's really going on here? So I think that's the beauty of the kind of faith crisis community, is just like there's becoming this bigger and bigger space where we can just love and support each other and just know we're not alone in this. And it's just amazing. Kudos to people who left before all this, because
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it. Like, I needed that validation. I was so insecure.
Same.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, this is so fun. So I think, Lexi, unless you have anything else, we'll open it up to taking questions from people and kind of bounce it back and forth between that and our Instagram questions. And thank you guys for giving us this opportunity to really just like speak open, honestly, and share what's on our hearts and have fun with us.
I know, this is great. I'm like getting all emotional.
I know, I am too. I'm like, I have not cried on this channel yet, but today is the day. Yeah,
I'd like to bear my testimony.
Guys, I was a sacrament crier. Okay?
I'm feeling that way. I'm feeling the spirit. Morgan, I'm feeling the spirit.
I guess we gotta go back to church. This is awkward.
Oh, you're right.
Sorry, everyone. We're going back. The Holy Ghost is telling us something. Whew, I think it's especially touching just because it's like we both had such a similar journey in this, and like we never planned on being this voice in the ex-Mormon community, and yet when we did it, it was so widely loved and accepted and praised that it was like, oh my gosh, it's just so overwhelming. Like, it's just so overwhelming. So yeah, you guys are making me cry. Stop. It's fine. Keep doing it. It's fine. Okay. I'll get over it. Okay, so opening up this to questions. So if people have questions, I know we've got a little bit of a little delay between us and the chat box, so be patient with us as we're waiting for your questions. While we're waiting for you guys to type, I'll start with some questions that we got from Instagram. And if you haven't followed me and Exmo Lex on Instagram, do it. Why have you not done that? Are you even a fan? I'm just kidding. Okay, so Allie said, I need to tell my family I left the church and I'm scared. Rip it off like a band-aid or let it fizzle out? Everyone in the comments, feel free to give her advice too, because me and Lexi are not the know all, do all, say all of ex-Mormonism.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So, Lexi, do you have any thoughts on that question?
Yeah, for me, and I feel like this is definitely personal to each person, because you know your family better than anybody else. But in my situation, what I wanted to do and what I did for the majority of my family was just start, being more myself on social media and more myself in front of them, to where, like, oh, I'm wearing a tank top in my profile picture or something, so they could see that, or, oh, I got an extra piercing, like, but not like going out and being like, hey, I'm an ex-Mormon now, because at first I was going to make like a whole Facebook post about like, so I could tell all of my family at once. But after, I was like, well, why? Like, what purpose would it serve to let my grandma and my cousins and all those people know? For me, it didn't seem like the right thing. I felt like, it doesn't affect their life really, because I don't see them, and I don't live close to my family. So for me, that was like, it wasn't the same as seeing them every day. But I think in some ways, just letting it sort of air out and be like, they can kind of see my lifestyle changes and see that, maybe she's not active, or like, I don't know for sure. That was what I felt like worked for me personally, was just to let it kind of go. But again, I feel like, that can be different for everybody, because not everybody's family will react the same way. For me, a lot of my extended family just never said anything about it, and we still get along just fine, even though I know they probably know, I'm actually against the church now. But that's what my thoughts are on it. So what do you think?
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I pretty much think the same way. Is like there's pros and cons to either way you handle it. And my heart goes out to you, Allie, from Instagram commenting this because it's so hard. It's so hard and it's so hard to know the right way to do it and all this and ultimately you know your family better than we do. And I think you just gotta weigh the pros and cons. Like the pro of kind of ripping it off and just being like, hey everyone, this is who I am. The pro is you don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to worry who's going to find out. How are they going to find out? Like I got to keep wearing sleeves, whatever. Like, so that's the pro. The con obviously is that sometimes it's such a shock to them that they don't know how to handle it. So like with my family, like I started talking to them when I was having doubts and saying, you know, I'm having issues with my faith. I'm having questions. I'm having doubts. And I think that kind of helped because it gave them time to like process because it gave them time to, I don't know, just stew on it a little bit. And I think it kind of
Right.
made it easier maybe. But again, you got to do what feels right to you. It's such a hard thing, totally sending love to you and wishing you the best. Whatever you decide, just trust yourself because ultimately you're the one that's going to have your back during this when it all goes down.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not as bad as you expect. I hear so many people say it wasn't as bad as I thought, but then I hear a lot of people not say that. So I can't even promise anything.
You never know. Everybody's
Never
different.
know. Yes, yes. So, okay, so we got a question from Rebecca. She was saying, have you guys thought about moving away from a like Mormon concentrated area? And I don't know if like, so you don't have to talk about where you live or whatever. But I don't mind talking about. So I live in Idaho, and basically pretty Mormon concentrated area where I live. And when I first left, I was like, get me out of here. I was like, I do not want to be around all these people. Like, but it's because I didn't feel secure within myself. I didn't feel like I could wear a tank top without feeling like ashamed, you know? And now, guys, I wear nothing but tank tops. Anyway, so at first I really wanted to move away, but now that I've kind of settled into feeling better about who I am, it doesn't bother me. And I actually love having Mormon neighbors because they're so nice. They're so friendly. But I grew up in St. Louis with not nice neighbors, and they were not Mormons. So. Okay, Lexi, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Utah for the first like 20 years of my life and lived in the same, like I lived in Utah County for my whole life.
I've heard
until,
that's the worst.
Yeah, it's the like most toxic that Mormons can possibly be. But that was my life. That was normal for me. I live in Idaho now, and I live in like kind of the Boise area. And you know, there are Mormons here, but not like even close to the, you know, the density and also the toxicity of Utah Mormons. It's quite different. And you know, if I had the option, I would probably just move out of the US. Like I would, you know, I'd just leave because there's lots of other places I would rather live. And it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with Mormonism. But you know, as it is, like this is where I've settled, this is where I bought my first home, this is where we have, you know, a life. But if it were, you know, I don't think a whole lot of my desire to move has to do with the fact that there are more Mormons around, because compared to living in Utah County, the Mormons here are nothing, like nothing. I would like to get, okay, the one thing is I would like to get away from the chapels because I feel like they are everywhere, even up here. And sometimes, you know, I walk by or drive by and I'm just like every single time. It would be nice to just not even have to see them, but that's a whole nother thing.
Love it, love it. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Lexi. Crumb commented and said, did people lie during the temple recommend interviews? Oh, Lexi, tell us.
Sorry, I missed that. What was that?
No, you're good. I think it was cutting out for a second. So the question we got was, did you ever lie during a temple recommend interview?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah. More
like
than once.
Like lie,
Yeah.
like in what respect? Like not like with your sins, or just that you believed and you didn't believe, or share whatever you want to share.
Oh no, I 1000% all the way up until I read the CES letter and left the church. There was no doubts. Like I was like, the church is true in every way, you know. It was definitely with like, oh, like, and I was lucky enough not to have any super inappropriate bishops, but when they would ask about like sexual purity and stuff, there was times where I definitely lied, which like I'm hesitant, like even thinking that there are people that don't ever lie on that one. But
Lexi,
let me know in the comments. Did you ever lie about masturbating?
I did not lie. I was such a goody two shoes, and not like, I'm not trying to like diss or anything, but I was like this guy is gonna know if I'm lying.
He would know.
He's gonna know.
He's got
so
the
I was
spirit of discernment.
Yeah, I thought he would know. So for those of you who don't know what temple recommend interview is, it's like to go, so the LDS church, they have their regular church worship, and then they've got their temple where they go and they do special ordinances, and basically you have to have a special recommend. You have to be very righteous to go there, and so you have to sit down with a member of the bishopric who is male, and they're going to ask you a bunch of questions about if you've been sinning or not, including like sexual questions. And so it can be very uncomfortable, especially because you'll start those interviews when you're like 12 years old. So I never lied, but I was always worried that I was lying accidentally. Like they'd say something like, are you honest?
There's that.
Are you honest in your dealings with your fellow men? And I'd be like,
I think I am.
Maybe. Yeah, I think so. And I'd be like, I'm so scared. Comment in the chat if you ever lied during your recommend interview. And so I've got another Instagram question. How do you come up with ideas for your videos? Lexi, do you want to start with that?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So for most of the time for me, like it's very spur of the moment. Like I have kind of a running list of things that people are like, will you do a video on that? And I'll like write it down. But a lot of times I'll get to like, I need to release a video this week. And then I'll be like, this sounds fun. And I'll just do it. Like,
totally.
I don't know. Most of the time it's just things like, oh, like this is something that occurred to me while I was just thinking about stuff, you know, or like, I saw a comment from a Mormon that made me irritated, or, you know, like a lot of them are actually like that. I'll get like comments from Mormons and I'll be like, I could make a whole ass video on that topic. I'm gonna do it.
They don't know how much they're helping your channel.
They are like, thank you for your rude ass comments. They're helping.
That's so funny. I love that. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the question was. What was the question? I was reading the live chat. It's so confusing.
I know, it's like
topics. Yeah, videos. Okay, so a lot of times I try to talk about what's on my heart. Like whatever I'm feeling like is just coming up for me in my life and is relevant to church stuff. I like talking about those kind of things. Sometimes I get ideas from people that send me ideas. Sometimes ideas just pop in my head and I write them down. I keep a big list of like, and want to go back to that list, you know, when I can. Just another Exmo sent us another donation. Thank you so much. And he said, have either of you considered doing a collaboration? He spelled it with like collab with self on the shelf. So yes, I've been in contact with Tanner.
Oh my God.
I've been in contact with Tanner. We are really wanting to do something, but because of coronavirus, we put it on the back burner. So we are hoping to do something. Lexi, did you want to respond about that?
Yeah. I've had Tanner over at my house before, and he was just passing through and we'd had like a little sleepover. But we talked about like doing something, and at the time it was like, you know, he was on his way somewhere, and we were like, why didn't we like plan a collaboration video while you were here? But you know, maybe at some point. But like Tanner is one of the sweetest, nicest people ever, but he's also one of those people that like is so cool that I'm way too intimidated to be like, you know, like
Lexi, you are just as cool. You are so cool. I feel you though. I feel you. No, remember the camera adds 50% cool, so don't even worry about it.
Right. It's just that him and Sam, their coolness was like already so much higher that even with your boost, I don't get there. But
Oh no, that's so
it's
funny.
all good.
I love that. Me and Tanner were at college at BYU, Idaho at the same time. So we were actually, when we were both still Mormon, we were in, and there's a video on my channel about it. You guys can go look at it. I show a little clip of me and Tanner we were in this comedy sketch group together called The Humor Code.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's the most cringy thing. Go watch our my video. It says how I know Tanner from Zelf on the Shelf or something like that. And anyway, I posted our little video and it's super cringy and like, yeah, it was bad. But it was so funny that we both had crossed paths, and then later we both had started Ex-Mormon channels, and so it's pretty great. I didn't even recognize him though with his fabulous like hair and mustache and all that. He used to look real Mormon at school. Bucky Breast, that's
super fabulous.
Right. Bucky Breast commented, guys, that's my brother. My Exmo brother, sent him some love. He said, how did you come up with or meet Sister Jensen? So Sister Jensen was not something I'd planned on being a reoccurring character for the channel. But what happened was I was trying to illustrate something for a certain video. And so then I ended up saying, hey, Jared, can you put this wig on? We just happened to have the wig because we kind of had a costume box. And I said, I need you to pretend to be my visiting teacher and we'll do this little skit. And then after that, people loved it so much that I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much we could do with this. And right now we're actually working on trying to do more Sister Jensen on our Instagram account. So check me out on Instagram if you want more Sister Jensen love.
We all want more Sister Jensen.
Sister Jensen is life. Thank you, Anne. I agree. I absolutely agree. So go ahead and post more questions for us, guys. Until then, I'll jump over to the Instagram questions. What was it like trying coffee or alcohol for the first time, Lexi?
Oh my God, so funny. So like it was probably like a month or two after we left the church that I was like, I'm gonna try coffee because I can now. And I remember it was like kind of like fall winter, and so I was just like, I'm gonna just like drive through Starbucks, and I pull up to the thing, and it's like I had no idea what anything was. Like, and so like the guy's like, asking me what I want. And I was just like, I've never had coffee before. Can you just like tell me what you think is the like yummiest, and I'll get that. So that was the first coffee one, and it was like super embarrassing but funny at the same time.
Can I get a fettuccine Alfredo frappuccino?
Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, I think I even said like I was Mormon, so I don't know what anything is. But my one of our good friends is not a member, and so the first time I ever tried any alcohol was he had come over. It was when the new Super Smash Brothers game came out. We were having like a play party for the new game, and he was like, "So you guys are like not members anymore, right? Like, do you want me to bring some booze?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so he brought just some like Mike's hard cider. So it was like super like, nothing. And I just had a sip, and I'm like, that's pretty good, but I don't want to drink too much because I'm afraid I'll get addicted.
That's very Mormon thing, for those of you who don't know. Very Mormon thing to say, and that's okay. That's okay. And here you are.
Yep.
Super addicted now.
My life.
So
just raging alcoholic.
She gets sober once a week to record her videos.
Yep. She's right. How about you?
Okay. Sometimes recording them drunk is easier.
Definitely easier to live stream when you're drunk. I'll tell you that.
I should have done that. I was nervous today. So my first drink was very sad. I took a sip and I cried for like 2 hours. I just felt
no.
so,
Oh my
it was like,
God.
it's so ingrained in me that that was a bad thing. So and it was such a representation,
Felt
like,
guilty.
I know. And it was such a representation in my mind of me really diverging from like my family loyalty and my family beliefs. And so like taking that sip was like a really big deal, and it made me very emotional, and I was very upset. But now
Oh,
much better.
so sad.
I warmed up to it.
Okay. There's a happy
co-
ending.
Coffee didn't make me feel quite as guilty because but I still just haven't been able to get into coffee. I think it's an acquired taste that I just never feel like it's worth acquiring. So especially because I try not to eat sugar now, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna drink it black like a freaking nasty Jared does. That's what Jared does. It's black, like freaking
Ew.
like a man, but like a disgusting, like. But anyway, okay, so other questions. Let's see. Why do Mormons don't drink coffee? I don't know. So it's in the word of wisdom that you're not supposed to drink hot drinks, and they attributed that to being coffee for some reason. Historically, I know there's a better explanation than that, and I don't know, but it's weird. And if
Also
you ask Mormons
tea.
now why they don't drink it, they're like, well, because caffeine. And you're like, but you can have Mountain Dew. And they're like, well, because obedience. So, do what you do. Coffee is good for the brain. Yes, probably. I mean, someone on the live chat said it, so it has to be true. Lexi, did we lose you, or are you still there? I think Lexi's internet's a little bit behind, but that's okay. I will just be entertaining enough for the both of us for a second here. Favorite thing about being ex-Mormon while we wait for Lexi to catch up? Tank tops. I love wearing tank tops. Oh, I can hear you now, Lexi. I'm talking about my favorite thing about being ex-Mormon, and then you can share that as well. Tank tops is my favorite. That's my favorite. I love tank tops so much, guys. It's just so freeing, and it's so hot in the summer, and you got to wear them. But really, I think I just love the freedom of being able to think more freely and to explore and not feel constrained to like certain thought patterns. Like I get to sit and think, oh, what do I think about this? Or what do I feel about this? Instead of like being like, oh, well, what's the church's stance? Because I guess that's what I think. And no diss on people who do that, but I love feeling free to think. Oh, Lexi says I can barely hear anything. Well, that's awkward because I have a really loud voice.
I can hear you now, like right after I typed that.
Got it.
I
was gonna say, I have a naturally loud voice, so we're just like,
it's not
that doesn't work. I'm just kidding.
It just cut out for a second. It's okay.
Do you want to tell us your favorite thing about being ex-Mormon?
Oh yeah, freedom. The freedom to be who I want to be.
There you go. Short and sweet. Yeah, I think you were sideways for a bit, but
Is it better now?
Yeah.
I just like tilted it. Okay. Anyway, just the freedom, because I don't know, as a Mormon, I was like I said, there was things that I didn't do perfectly because who does? But I tried to be very good. I was like, okay, I'm going to follow all the rules, even if I don't understand them, even if I don't want to. But being able to just be like, oh, I want to see that movie, and even it's rated R, but I've always told myself not to, but I want to, so I'm going to. Or just clothes, oh my gosh, the shirt is so cute, but it shows part of my back, but I'm gonna wear it now, being me to the fullest without holding anything back based on arbitrary stupid rules. It's awesome.
Nice. Love that. Yeah, I totally feel you with that. It's hard when you're trying to follow these rules and you feel like you're not even sure why, but yeah. Oh, Mama Joe, I love you, Mama Joe. He said the 10% raise was great too. Oh, Mama Joe is one of our Patreon supporters. He is awesome. Okay, other questions? Feel free to comment some more questions. We'll take just a few more questions here while and let's see. Do you feel angry at the church? Do you want to answer that question, Lexi?
Sure. Yes, I do. And a lot of Mormons like will take that and run with it like, oh, you're just an angry ex-Mormon. But the reality is that if you gave your whole life, devoted yourself in every way, devoted your money and your time and your children and your family and everything you had to an organization only to find out that it had been lying to you and keeping things from you, you would be angry. And it's normal and okay to have it's an emotion that everybody feels, and it's a good thing to feel that in some ways. And while I'm not that like angry, super angry ex-Mormon that I first was when I first left, there's still parts of me that are upset at the church. And like I said, I go past a chapel or I go past a temple, and a lot of times I'll flip at the finger just to get a little bit of that spite out of my system.
Oh man, that is so great. I gotta say, like I was just glad when I felt like I could drive past the temple and not feel like super ashamed anymore. Like for me, I felt like I definitely had the anger, but I feel like the shame hit me way harder than the anger most of the time. And so like for me it was the anger was definitely there. It's still there. Like you said, I don't know that it will ever fully go away, but it just feels like I'm so much more at peace with everything. And that's really nice. But the shame was a lot harder, I think, for me. And so it does feel good to feel like it gets better. It just keeps getting better. And you keep feeling more confident. You keep feeling more accepting of yourself, more accepting of other people. And stuff starts to not bother you as much. Like I used to hear certain quotes from Brigham Young or whatever, and I still get triggered sometimes, but I'd hear a quote and be like, I can't believe he said that, da, 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 da. And then now I'm just like, I can't believe, well, yeah, no, I can believe it. Like I know what he believes. I can believe he said that. So
Makes sense.
oh man.
Yeah. A lot of those be like liar, but okay.
Right. So we got a question here. Do you have nightmares about the cult? I don't really have nightmares about it. I think if anything, I have nightmares that people like are mad at me and judging me and stuff like that, but I don't have nightmares specifically about the church. Did you want to comment on that, Lexi?
Sure. I don't really, I can't remember having nightmares about it really. More like, just stuff with family, but it doesn't have as much to do with the church. Just more like, oh, like we're butting heads about stuff. My husband, I know, has nightmares about his mission, and he actually has, like, while we were still members, he had nightmares about getting called back on a mission again because it was really difficult in a lot of it. It's not really.
Jared was the same way, and I've heard several people say that. Like for some reason they have to go on another mission. They have a dream that they have to go again, and like how terrifying that is. A couple people asked Lexi if you served a mission, and if you did, how was the psychology with your mission? Like, did it mess you up or anything? I don't know if you served a mission. I didn't serve a mission.
I didn't serve a mission. I was actually married before I was old enough to go on a mission. So,
girl,
just another Mormon thing.
We are two peas in a pod. Yeah, I got married at 19. That was right when they changed the age. That was right when they changed the age, so I could have gone, but I was engaged when I was 18. So Mormon life. Mormon. Good. Let's see what other questions you got here. Okay. We're gonna take just a couple more questions before we end here. What song disturbs you the most since you have left the church? That's funny. Oh, that's from My Great and Spacious World, Stephanie's channel. Did you have a thought on that, Lexi?
Could you repeat that? I only got the last part.
It's what church song disturbs you the most since you have left the church?
Any of them about like Joseph Smith, I guess praise to the man drives me bonkers just because of how like when I was in the church, it was so like hero worshipy, like, oh my gosh, like he was such amazing, he was a martyr and he was a hero. It literally calls him a hero and stuff. And just looking at that now and being like, but he wasn't a prophet. In fact, he was a kind of shitty person. Like that just, I don't know, it really bothers me now when I look back on, like, I used to sing that with such fervor and like, you know, I would be like so like proud of my prophet, and it just really bothers the hell out of me now.
I actually was gonna say the exact same thing. It's like, it's just, it's so heartbreaking when your whole life you've looked up to this person and then you find out like that he wasn't the person you thought he was, and it just shatters you. Like it's so disappointing. Like it's like you're just so broken. And so then to sit and hear that song, it's really hard to hear it because you're like, all these people are immortalizing this person that I feel like did not uphold these good standards that he should have. And so
I mean, he didn't even follow the stuff that he said, you know, that he put these things in place and he didn't do them. And it's just like, oh, and then, you know, he was, they say he was 14 when he had the first vision. He was like so faithful. And as a child, you know, look up to that, like, wow, I hope that I can be as faithful as Joseph Smith, you know, and then to find out like, oh, like, look at this clown, you know, it's just like, oh, it's aggravating beyond belief.
It's so hard. Yeah, I completely agree. And I still like some of the hymns. Like it was really triggering for me to listen to a lot of them for a long time. But there's some now that like I'll listen to like on purpose. Like like I love Come Thou Fount, that song. Like I think it's a beautiful song.
Yeah, I think the music is beautiful.
It's just it's just got a very beautiful melody, you know?
Right. And I mean, even like, I know you probably know of Jimmy Snow from Dear Mr. Atheist. Like he's talked about before how a lot of the hymns like are beautiful. They have beautiful melodies, and they're like, I mean, if the lyrics were different, I probably would listen to them a lot because I do appreciate the music. And I played them all on piano, and it, was part of my life that I really, really liked, but I still get irritated by the lyrics and I can't do it. And it's a bummer.
Right. It makes sense. Like it's always going to be hard too, because it's like everything about the LDS church kind of reminds us the separation between us and like our people that are close to us that we wish were closer but aren't because of their beliefs. And so it's kind of like this, like sometimes it can feel like a sting, and so that's kind of hard sometimes, like to get over that. Yeah. So someone said, do you, from Instagram, Tiana said, do you feel the need to be spiritual in some way or another? I'm interested to hear our different answers because I'm pretty sure you're atheist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like spiritual doesn't have to mean like belief in God necessarily, or what, I mean, maybe it does to you. Tell me what you think about that question.
So for me, like, I mean, spiritual in the way a lot of people think about it, no. Like, there's not any, I don't believe in any kind of higher power or, like, something bigger than myself kind of a thing that a lot of people would associate with that way. But, being connected, like, just being in nature and things like that. And there's certain things that, like, I associated with the Holy Ghost when I was a member that like I still experience to this day, but I associate it with, my own hormones. But like, being around my kids and being around animals and going out in nature and enjoying hiking and things like that are the same. I get those same kinds of feelings, even like music and stuff.
Yeah.
But I can go to like a concert where the band is super satanic and still get those same feelings. It's just, it's very different now than, not that the feeling is different, but the way I associate the feeling is different.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And to answer that for myself, like, because it said, do you feel the need to be spiritual in some way or another? And I know when I first left, I felt like I was like hungry for something spiritual, but I didn't know where to find it. Like I remember one day just like Googling on YouTube, like something spiritual, uplifting, go. Like It's like
Enter.
I need
Help me.
something not Mormon asking for a friend. Okay. Just kidding. But I was just like, I was trying so hard because I did feel a void personally. And I think it was just that upliftment that you would get a lot of like people telling stories that were really inspiring, like of their struggle and how they overcame their struggle. You'd hear that a lot at church and stuff like that. And I missed that. And I feel like I've found my own way of being spiritual now. And it's like I'm just a bit big into kind of like working through my past and healing and journaling and meditating, and like that kind of stuff makes me feel very like connected in a spiritual sense, and it fills that need in a way that also feels like safe for me, if that makes sense.
Right.
So yeah. So I know we're going a few minutes over, Lexi, but do you have a few minutes to just take a couple more questions? Because we've still got a lot of people engaging. So if you have time, we'll take a few more questions. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. How did you Rover said, how did your parents react when Moroni dropped his trumpet? I don't know how they would have found out. The only way I found out was all the ex-Mormon memes that I look at. Did your family have a reaction to that? And if they knew about it, I don't know what they would have said. I didn't hear about it.
I was on the phone with my mom and I told her, because like you, I had seen the memes because they were really funny. And she, you know, it was just like the kind of thing where she's just like, oh yeah, like this is a creep. She didn't like react in any sort of like really great way or anything.
Right. Someone said he dropped his what? So for those who don't know what we're talking about, all the LDS temples have an angel Moroni on top of them, and he's holding a trumpet, like announcing Christ coming back again and stuff. And it's this golden statue. And when they were taking down the Salt Lake Temple, because they're doing reconstruction with it. And then it was the earthquake, though, right? They were doing construction, but then the earthquake happened, and his trumpet fell out of his hand and off the top of the temple. And so it was just like a big ex-Mormon fiasco. If you want to laugh, look up memes about that, because they're hilarious. So
they were good.
Yeah, if anyone else has questions, go ahead and throw them up before we get out of here. Let's see. Someone was asking about Book of Mormon musical. Have you seen that, Lexi? Have you seen the Book of Mormon musical?
Yeah, I watched it on YouTube.
Oh man, it's so funny. I watched it when I was still pretty fresh Ex-Mormon, and it's rough when you're like fresh, because it's very raunchy. It's very like blasphemy-y. But it is so well written, and the jokes are hilarious. The music is really good. I don't understand it. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I actually have a video about me and Jared watching it if you guys want to look at it. Do you guys still get flashes of Mormon guilt, and how do you shut it up? Oh, Anne, God bless us all. Yes, I definitely still struggle with guilt. I feel like it's gotten better and better. And one thing that really helped me was trying to redefine what I felt like made me a good person, like sitting down and saying to myself, okay, like what do I think actually makes someone a good person? Because before I didn't feel like a good person. So I felt like going to the temple, reading scriptures, going to church kind of made me feel like I was a good person, even though I didn't feel like I was a good person. So it gives you like this false sense of security. And when you don't have that anymore, it can be really hard. And then you feel guilty for all this stuff, all the stuff you're not doing, and guilty for the stuff that you are doing. I think my biggest recommendation with that is like to really sit down with yourself and get real about what's causing you to feel guilty, and do you think you should feel guilty for that? And if you don't think that you should, then go about trying to find a way to let go of that feeling, like through journaling, through meditation. Like there's ways that you can go in and kind of rewire your brain. And I say that because I'm a hypnotherapist as well on the side. And so there's a lot you can do to try to help rewire the triggers that cause that guilt. But Lexi, did you have a comment about the guilt? Like, do you still feel guilt for certain things, and what do you do if you do?
I don't really get it at all anymore. When, I was first leaving, and every once in a while it would come back. And it was more towards the beginning, but as time has gone on, like very, very little anymore will I get those feelings of guilt. But when they did come up, what I would do is just like take whatever I was feeling guilty about. And, a lot of times it was just like looking at anti-Mormon material as bad or whatever. But like, and it was something like, oh, like I'm drinking tea and I'm not supposed to drink tea or whatever. I would just be like, well, like, why did I used to think that I couldn't drink tea? And then I would think, well, because Joseph Smith wrote in the Doctrine and Covenants that, we're not supposed to do that. And then I would be like, well, is Joseph Smith actually a prophet? And just kind of like take it back and be like, so am I, like, should I feel bad? Because I don't believe he was a prophet, so there's no reason for me to feel bad about it. So whatever it was, I would just kind of take it back and be like, is that something that is real and I should really feel bad about? Or am I just, hanging on to this guilt?
Yeah, I really like the way you explain that. It's just like, take yourself back to the core. What's at the core? And if you can understand what that is, then like it's easier to let go. Not that it's the easiest. It's hard. It's hard letting go of this stuff that's been ingrained in you for so long. But I definitely think your process is like spot on. It's definitely what I did as well. So we're going to take this last question here. It's by Bud. Thank you. And thank you for everyone who has commented and watched us. This is so exciting. Like it's very thrilling to do this live. It's really fun. Also very distracting, but in the best way possible. So Bud says, does Mormonism have a culture of shunning? Are people marked and treated as bad association? So Lexi, did you want to answer that first? Does Mormonism have a culture of shunning?
Sure. I think it depends. I mean, I would say yes, like on the whole, yes. But the severity of it kind of depends on the family. A lot of, especially like Utah County, middle of Utah Mormons I think would be more like that. A lot of people that I knew from that area that I grew up with that left the church, their family literally would shun them and say, you are not, welcome in my home until you are a member and you are wearing your garments. So, but then, then there's others that are a little bit more accepting. And I think depends on how, and I hesitate to use the word, but how indoctrinated your family is into the culture and into the religion. Because at least, for my personal life, the people I know that did the most shunning were definitely the most like strict Mormons and the most Utah Mormons possible.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you were saying on it. Is just that it's not necessarily gospel encouraged to like shun certain family members, but it's one of those things where it's like, this is God's true church. It's the only way to happiness is kind of what they're taught. And then it's like, okay, outside of this, you can't go to the highest kingdom. You can't be really very happy in this life. So then it's like, more than the shunning, what I see is a lot of like condescending attitude of like, oh, so-and-so doesn't believe anymore. And wow, we just super wish that he would come back to the happiness and God and stuff like that.
Can't be happy without the church.
Right. Never. And so I think like, at least the majority of what I see happening is there are definitely the extremes where it's like, okay, we're writing you out of the will. Like I've heard people tell me stories about that. It's like, it's so sad. Like, it's so sad. But I think more common, it's like, okay, we're just not going to talk about church stuff because this is weird. Or if we do, it's going to be kind of in a very passive aggressive way. It's just going to be kind of this condescending attitude. And again, not everyone is that way. I have like a sister who's amazing. She's super understanding. So it's not everyone, but it's a pretty common issue. So Melissa said, yes, part 2, please. You ladies rock. Oh, this has been so much fun, you guys. I just have to say, like, from the bottom of my heart, like, thank you all so much. Like, I know me and Lexi were getting a little bit emotional. It's because this means so much to both of us. Like, this is such a big part of our lives, and like being this this face for the community and this voice is like the biggest honor and the most terrifying and the most amazing experience that we've ever had. And so thank you guys for being a part of that, and for I don't know, making my dreams come true, honestly. This is just, it's just amazing. So thank you all.
Yeah, imagine saying that 10 years ago, like, this is my dream. No, would have never thought this was my life, but like, it means a lot. Thank you guys.
Thank you all so much. Please do not forget to go check out Exmo Lex. Her YouTube channel is linked in the description. You can also find her on Instagram. She posts awesome stuff. Please go check it out. I highly recommend her. If you want to see Lexi back on our channel, give us some awesome comments and likes so that I can guilt her into coming back in a really passive aggressive way. And just kidding. Anyway, Lexi, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys all for your questions. Thank you for watching. We are sending you all our love. Have a great night. And yeah, peace out.